Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new video where we are going to be going over my top 5 tips I think every single Rell player needs to know. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is LowFit. I do educational content, do tips videos, guide videos, and I also stream here on YouTube. Now, my goal behind this video is to give you a better understanding of the champion, as well as to make you a better League of Legends player as a whole. I'm a bit limited with this format, only doing 5 different tips, so please make sure to add your own tips down below. And with all that out of the way, let's jump into tip number 1. Alright, and getting into tip number 1 for Rell, we are going to be going over just some of the basic things first. We're going to be going over item build, we're going to be going over rune build, and overall different playstyles. Now, these are my basic go-to runes with Rell. They do change quite a bit though. If I have a little bit of lane pressure, say I have something like a Caitlyn, I would go Demolish. I wouldn't be going Font of Life. And then if I was going against an all-in enemy team comp with things like Draven and Leona, I'd be going the Bone Plating as opposed to the anti-poke of Second Wind provides. Revitalize is just great overall because of this massive shield that comes out with your W. And then things like Biscuit Delivery and Cosmic Insight I think are really good just overall laning runes. And then next up, when you get into your items, I think Locket of the Iron Solari and Zeke's Convergence are just a must buy. You are going to be getting a crap ton of ability haste, 40 from these 2 items. You're going to be getting a bit of mana, you're going to be getting some health and armor, and the on hit is going to be great because you're able to proc the on hit with your crash down, and with your E you are going to be able to provide a lot of extra on hit damage for your allies. Now, the rest of the items are pretty situational in what your team needs. If you are lacking a bit on engage and you want to go battle song, that can be a viable way. Or if you want to go, you have access to a little bit more gold, things like Turbo Chem Tank can be great for getting you just a bunch more engages. Now, Gargoyle Stoneplate is going to be anti-burst. Randuin's Omen is anti-crit and against a lot of AP, and you are snowballing a bit and you want to have your team do a little bit more damage, Abyssal Mask can be quite effective. Hit me up in the comments down below, guys, if you have any really good builds that you are trying out that are really different than what I am talking about right now. The next thing I want to talk about with Rell and picking her up, you want to play her with wombo combo type team comps that have a lot of skill shots. The reason why is because you can ensure skill shots land with your Magnet Storm, pretty much holding them in place and providing them with a really high percentage chance of hitting a lot of the abilities. So things like Amumu Jungle, things like Misfortune, Malphite, Yasuo, Fizz, things that really rely on hitting a particular skill shot, Rell just amplifies their overall power by quite a bit. So look for these allies team members to lock in Rell, and that will wrap up tip number 1. Alright, and jumping into tip number 2, a really strong kind of hidden bonus towards Rell right now is that she has a very low play rate and she's very new. A lot of people do not understand how her kit works and how she plays out her trades. This is going to be most important for when you're playing Rell. You are really going to need to land as many stuns as possible when playing Rell. Now, this is a little bit misguided, this kind of skill shot. A lot of people are going to think that you have to be between the 2 targets to get stunned by the E, but actually you can still get a stun on a target even if they are outside of this line. All you need for them to be is inside of one of these circles and it will stun the target, as you can see here. See how both of them got stunned even though neither of them are in this line? This is something you can look to take advantage of, particularly when you're coming right out of a bush that isn't warded. Say they're just walking into lane level 1, you are able to get really easy stuns off by just walking out of the bush real quick, hitting your E and getting out and getting a nice really good stun on the enemy targets and getting a little bit of damage off. So keep this in mind. This is just a really sneaky way to get a lot of stuns on the enemy targets without requiring the setup of your W or your R, and that will wrap up tip number 2. Alright, and getting into tip number 3 with Rell, let's talk about her most polarizing ability that is really going to separate the extremely strong Rell players from the very, very poor Rell players. Now, this is her, really, I think, her highest impact spell. Even with her ultimate up, the W is just providing so much. It's throwing a shield on yourself, it's doing a knock-up, it's just giving you so much when you are throwing out your W. However, it comes with a rather large downside. Your movement speed goes down dramatically. It goes all the way down to 295, which is one of the slowest movement speeds you will see in the game. So you can be heavily punished when enemies look to turn around. So if you're missing your W's, you are going to get punished quite heavily. So how you look to remedy this is by setting up your W's either with hitting a stun into your knockup or an R into your knockup, or by letting your allies slow down the enemy. Say you're playing with something like an Ashe and she's throwing out volleys, then you want to look for your W. Then you want to look for that. You do not want to be one of those people that just randomly try and jump in and get a max range W on someone and then get punished for having an extremely slow movement speed running away. So you need to have a good understanding of how engages work, and I think that's why Rell has a rather low play rate right now, is because she can be punished quite heavily if she misuses her W. Now, a little bit of a side note here, Rell works extremely well with Yasuo because of her knockup coming out of her W, as well as her remount is displacing them, so that's going to be another way to give him an ultimate, and then also her R is also another displacement, so you are going to be able to proc his ultimate in 3 different ways. So if you see an allied Yasuo on your team, you can look to lock in Rell, and that will wrap up tip number 3. Okay, and getting into tip number 4, we are going to talk a bit about team fighting and what you really want to look. Now, in my head, I think Rell is one of the best flanking supports that you can possibly look to find. I know a lot of people are still learning her. A lot of people are down on her, not even giving her a shot. But she can provide you with such crazy flanks from really cool angles and do these hidden stuns as long as you're kind of relatively close to your marked target. You can pull off some absolutely insane stuff. So I want to show you guys what an ideal team fight would look like. Now, you'd want to hit your E on as many people as possible from the fog of war and coming from an unexpected angle, and then Wing in and then R'ing them all, getting them all grouped up. So if your team has any sorts of AoE, it is just going to deal a massive amount of damage. This is why I think Rell can be such a powerful flanking support, just with her ability to really punish enemies that get clumped up in objective areas like around the dragon or around the Baron. And that will wrap up tip number 4 for Rell. Alright, and getting into the final tip, we're going to be talking about some of your responsibilities and things that you need to look for when you are in kind of that pre-fight stage and what you need to do. Now, the biggest thing that you want to understand is your ability to just throw on a bunch of extra stats and essentially a bunch of extra gold on a target is going to be huge. Giving someone 30 armor is the equivalent of giving them like 600 or 700 extra gold in a team fight, on top of giving them the passive of getting random heals from you when you are able to land a Q on a bunch of people is going to be extremely important. Now, if you are consistently winning team fights and your backline is under no pressure, it might be beneficial to throw the attract and repel on a target that is going to be jumping into the fray on you. But in this season, in season 11, we all know their assassins are just running amok. So there are going to be a lot of pressure on. There is going to be a lot of pressure on your back line. So you want to be throwing it on your highest value target on your allied team. Say you have something like a Vayne or a Jinx that is a backline hyper carry. This is the target that you really want to get this extra bit of resistances and get the extra bit of healing. Now, if you are unable to get a really strong flank, what your position is in a fight is to peel for your damage dealers. You have so many amazing ways of peeling. First up, you are able to knock up a whole bunch of targets. You're able to stun people. You are able to pull them literally away from your target in any direction you want. So essentially, Rell is just an amazing bodyguard that is just protecting the back line. So always look to protect your back line. Do not be one of those infuriating frontliners that always overdive and then an assassin just jumps in, kills your back line, and then you're just left trying to kill an ADC that's kiting you out anyway. So essentially you want to treat this like a poppy champion, that you are protecting your back line with something like the steadfast presence. And then obviously exhaust is a great overall pickup against assassin heavy teams, and you want to be looking to have as much burst prevention as possible when you see high value abilities coming out. If you're going Locket, you're always able to provide a really nice shield in moments of really great pressure, and you're able to just get very, very large heals. Now, the Shattering Strike can be the difference between life and death of your allies. As you can see here, it is 30 plus 5% of their missing health, so it works a lot better, essentially the same as an allow EQ, so you're able to bait just champions in a very, very into overdive in your backline. If you're able to hit 3 or 4 people with that, it is going to just give them a massive heal coming out from you. All right, guys, and that will wrap up tip number 5. If you have any questions for me, you can hit me up in the comments down below. And as always, take it easy.